Urban Artificial Intelligence Strategic Thinking Media Platform. Dipset affiliate Mel Murda was recently released from prison. It's a video going viral. Him and Jim Jones linking up now. This is kind of a popular person in the street culture. He was a rapper. He got a couple nice songs. He has a somewhat of a lengthy mixtape career, but he's mainly known for being the leader of the Nine Trey Bloods. The whole indictment with Tekashi 6ix9ine, of course, we all remember that. The whole infamous Tekashi 6ix9ine telling on, I think it was like 16 or 17 people. He got all these people locked up. They're slowly starting to come home about 6 or 7 years later. And the leader of the whole operation, Mel Murda, was released recently. And a video of him and Jim Jones linking up, hugging, recently went viral. Now, it was a lot of jokes being made about that video of them two hugging, how they were hugging, the body language. I want to say this, man. Y'all can make all the jokes y'all want, but I'm going to say this. That was a I'm glad you didn't tell on me hug. All right? That was a you're the reason that I'm free hug, okay? People can say what they want about Jim Jones being a snitch. I understand how some of his past can look kind of shaky when it comes to him being on the wiretaps and things of that nature. But I want to say this. If Mel Murda had cooperated and told on Jim Jones would be in jail. All right. My personal opinion is that Jim Jones is not a snitch. My personal opinion is Mel Murda was the link to Jim Jones. All of the guys doing crime, Jim Jones did not talk directly to them. He talked directly to Mel Murda, okay? And the conversations that him and Mel Murda had, there was no admission of any crimes, all right? That's just the way it is. I know a lot of people don't like Jim Jones, so they want him to be a snitch. They want people to call him a snitch. They want things to come out showing that he's a snitch. I don't see any evidence of that. All I see is, or all I hear is people's opinions and hearsay. Now, if y'all think Jim Jones told, that's on y'all. Get in the comments and let me know. But from the research that I did on this case, I kind of started my page around when this case started, so I'm familiar with it. And what I know, what I seen, what I read is that Mel Murda was like the key guy. He was the leader to this. He was the only connection to Jim Jones. So as long as he didn't tell on Jim Jones, there was really no solid evidence, all right? But y'all can get in the comments and let me know what y'all think. Now, we remember Mel Matrix. He gave Harv and Shotty the green light to rob Tekashi, and they alleged that he was giving them green lights to do other things. There was other shootings, and we also heard about some heroin trafficking situations. So that's really why he was locked up. Now, that don't have nothing to do with Jim Jones. All right? It was another guy who who was a big-time heroin dealer who worked hand in hand with Mel Matrix. Okay, that's why Mel got locked up. Now, Jim wasn't riding around selling heroin with Mel Murda, y'all. Y'all kind of make it seem like Jim Jones should be in jail because he's riding around doing these crimes. He's not riding around doing these crimes, y'all. He wasn't on the scene of any of these crimes. He wasn't involved in any of these crimes. He wasn't selling narcotics. He wasn't robbing people, all right? Shotty was robbing people. Harv was robbing people. Mel Matrix was selling heroin, all right? So that's why they got locked up. Jim Jones was talking on the phone. Was he talking reckless on the phone? Did he say too much? Yes, and he admitted that on his album. But in my opinion, and I'm no lawyer, I'm no street nigga, I'm no thug, but I did create a strategic thinking media platform that's unlike anything else, and I have a powerful opinion. And in my opinion, he did just enough. Again, the issue here for me would be if Mel Matrix was to tell. If Mel Matrix told, then yes, Jim would be in jail. Now, if Mel told on him and he still didn't go to jail, that would be a problem. That would be a big red flag. That would kind of make it obvious, but that's not the case. Mel stood tall, and you see when he came out, Jim gave him jewelry. Jim gave him, a long embrace. And I'm also hearing people talk about the jewelry that Jim Jones gave Mel Murda. Let me ask y'all this, man. How many of y'all friends have gifted y'all jewelry? All right. If your friends ain't never bought you no jewelry, I don't think you can talk about Jim Jones buying his friend jewelry. Again, man, Mel probably could have switched up on Jim. All right. It's hard for me to believe that at some point the police didn't come to Mel and say, hey, we know you taking directions from Jim Jones, but telling probably wasn't an option for Mel. He knew he was gonna hold it down. He was gonna bounce right back out, get busy again. That's what we see him doing. So that, first of all, congratulations, for him coming home, get back to his regular life, get back to his family. But what I want to talk about in this video is what's next for Mel and what I think, in my opinion, should happen now. When Jim Jones and Cameron was going back and forth, we heard Cameron talk about how Jim and everybody around Jim ends up going to jail, talking about how Jim Jones is a bad leader. Everybody around him goes to jail. And he said when Mel Murda gets out, Jim, get him a job. Don't just have him running around robbing people, beating people up. Now, when the whole thing was happening with Tekashi, he kind of put that narrative out there too. He went on interviews and was saying how they were sleeping on the floor, how Mel Murda didn't have a car, he didn't have a home. They was all kind of living in the same apartment, while Jim had a penthouse and a pretty nice house in the suburbs or whatever. So with 6ix9ine creating that narrative, and then with Cameron, when him and Jim was going at each other, he was kind of saying the same thing. It created a narrative like, Jim don't really care about his people, and that he just around a whole bunch of people who crash out for him. Now, I think Jim Jones got a real opportunity to change that. And I'm not saying that he should change that for optics, but I think he could put Mel Murda in a pretty nice position, pause, and something that actually can fit him. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think Jim Jones should either give Mel a spot on his Artist to Artist podcast or give him his own podcast by himself. All right. He is a rapper, okay? If you're a rapper, in my opinion, you can gain podcast skills. It's kind of the same thing. Podcasting is actually easier than rapping. All right, creating content, in my opinion, is easier than rapping. So if you've been a rapper before, you probably have a knack for podcasting, or you can gain one if you work at it and you're serious about it and you gain those skills. I think this is something that Mel Murda needs to at least try to explore. All right. When we see Tax Stone, all right, he kind of took that gangster lane in the podcasting industry. Obviously, it didn't go how he wanted it to. He ended up going to prison. But that's the kind of lane I think Mel Murda could be in. Mel Murda got a lot of stories, all right? He probably got countless stories from the early Dipset days all the way to his previous stint in prison, all right? Will he do interviews? Will he go to people's platform? A lot of people still kind of want to know the whole Trey situation. What was going on with it? What's the inner dealings of it? Now, I know he probably won't go to any podcast soon. He's been in prison for 6 or 7 years. So he probably want to just get reintroduced to normal life, be with his family, eat good, spend some money, do things that regular free humans do. But after that, I think he should try to discover this podcast space. I think that's something that he should look into. I think he would be a good podcaster. If you go back, you look at some of his interviews, he got a little bit of wit about him. He make funny jokes. Clearly he's like the serious tough guy. But if he start talking, you never know where that could go. All right. I think that's something that Jim should look into. And Jim has the platform. He just started the Artist to Artist podcast, and Mel is an artist. So he could either have him on the show, you know what I'm saying, or he could give him his own podcast. I would personally look into giving him his own podcast, tell stories, you know what I'm saying, meet with certain guests, whether they be rappers, artists, street figures, whatever the case may be, anybody who he's interested in talking to, and he can just tell stories, man. I think that would be a good way for Jim to kind of kill the narrative about, him just having crash outs around him, because that is the narrative. Whether you believe it or not, that's kind of the narrative. And I know this wouldn't be a move to kill the narrative. This would be a move to make some money for your homeboy and get your homeboy straight. But it would be killing two birds with one stone, man. But I want y'all to get in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this. Mel Murda having his own podcast or having a segment on Artist to Artist. Do y'all want to hear his story? I do. I want to hear a little bit more about what's going on, man. He seemed like a solid dude. And let me know what y'all think about him not telling on Jim Jones. Do y'all think the police came to him and tried to get him to tell on Jim Jones? I'm almost 100% sure they did. But he didn't, all right? Like I said, that hug that he gave Jim Jones, that was thank you for not telling on me hug, all right? And I did content about this before, and I've always stood on that. It was up to Mel if Jim went to jail or not. Okay, it's not. I don't think Jim is telling. I don't think Jim is a rat. I think he was smart. He was calculated, and he just knew niggas who would, you know, do his dirty work in the streets, man. Whether you think that's good or bad, that's your opinion. Urban Artificial Intelligence, strategic thinking media platform. I'm gonna see y'all in the next episode. Peace.